Willie D Live.
What's up, family? If you think conservative podcaster Charlie Kirk was gunned down by an assassin's bullet because of his views on trans people, you might be right. Then again, you might be wrong. There are a growing number of people out there who believe that Israel is involved in the murder of Charlie Kirk, primarily because of this video.
How many of you guys think when a lawmaker, and a man I respect like Ted Cruz, uses the Bible to justify aid to Israel, doesn't even know the verse, do you guys think that's like not the best way to approach this? Raise your hand. Okay.
I think Ted Cruz used Genesis 12:3. I think a lot of people see that as off-putting when you look at the New Testament.
Why?
Because I think a lot of people, they look especially at the writings of Paul, where he talks about how the new flesh is not the same as the people in the old covenant. The new flesh is everybody, everyone's included.
Talking about Romans 9.
Yes, 9:6, yeah.
Are you Catholic?
Converting to Catholic from Judaism.
I can tell.
This is my next
Oh, from Judaism?
Yes.
Oh, wow. So you're ethnically Jewish.
Ethnically Jewish, yes.
And you have concerns about AIPAC.
Yes, I do.
I'm told that by some people that if I criticize AIPAC, I'm anti-Semitic.
I think it's ridiculous. Yeah. I feel like it's great to have a concern for your country.
Do you think that that AIPAC represents, again, I'm not saying I believe this, but I think this is what you're saying, that it represents a kind of cutting in line of prioritization away from the American people?
Yes.
Would you guys say that's a fair summary?
100%.
Meaning that, like, okay, we vote, we're citizens, but a separate group gets higher priority because of whatever reasons.
All right, fam, you heard it. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Let me give you the definition of AIPAC. AIPAC meaning politicians. The term refers to American Israel Public Affairs Committee. American Israel Public Affairs Committee. That's a prominent pro-Israel lobbying organization in U.S. politics. Pro-Israel. All about Israel. If you dare say anything about Israel, you're going to have to deal with AIPAC. Especially if you're on a much, much higher level, type of level like Charlie Kirk was on. One person who believed that Charlie Kirk was killed because of more cynical reasons is Candace Owens, conservative podcaster conservative podcaster and pundit, Candace Owens. Candace told a story of Charlie Kirk in the Hamptons and an intervention that took place that was staged by Bill Ackman because of Charlie's rational thoughts about Israel was a no-no. Yeah. Candace said that Bill Ackman was very upset and threats were made. She was told at that time, Benjamin Netanyahu, that is the prime minister of Israel, called and Charlie was invited to Israel under duress. She said it felt like a threat. It wasn't like, hey, let me invite you to Israel so we can sit down and have a nice, healthy discussion about, our disagreements and our views. She said it felt like a threat. Charlie told her it felt like a threat. And Charlie was warned, this is your last chance. Charlie was offered a ton of money. Somebody put the figure in the $150 million range. $150 million to change your opinion. Well, any event, fam, Charlie didn't decline that money, according to Candace Owens. Charlie was offered the money and he declined it. He declined to go to Israel. As fate would have it, just one day later, Charlie appeared on the Megyn Kelly show and talked about the pressure he was under and the criticism he was getting. Charlie said that Bill Ackman was very upset with him. They wanted, Bill wanted young Americans, he said that he warned Bill Ackman that young Americans were tired of defending Israel. And he suggested that they tour colleges and have a discussion with the college students. Apparently, this wasn't enough to satisfy the people who were, I guess, making the decisions. Now, give me a thumbs up if you believe that that something bigger was at play here. Remember, Tyler Robinson, the 22-year-old guy, is the one that they said that did the shooting, and they framed it as if he did it in revenge for comments that Charlie has made about trans people. Yeah. So Charlie was living with a trans individual. They say a trans man. He's trying to go from to a man. It was a trans individual. I cannot remember if it was a trans man or a trans woman, but he was living with a trans individual. I think it was a trans man. I can't remember. But in any event, Charlie, in any event, this guy, Tyler Robinson, people are calling a patsy. They're saying this guy did not kill Charlie Kirk. And if he did it with the help of people who were very powerful. And if he did it with the help of people who was very powerful, that means that he probably did not know the real reason why he was squeezing that trigger. And he probably did not know that he was targeted to be the patsy. He probably didn't know that the spin would come on the person that he was living with. He probably didn't know that that would be the spin. So here's what I gather here, fam. Here's what I gather. Obviously, Charlie Kirk had a lot of detractors. He also had a lot of supporters. The thing that stands out most to me about this guy's convictions are the fact that he was not allowed, if we are to believe what Candace Owens is saying, he was not allowed to change his mind. He was not allowed to have a different opinion. And this is one of the reasons why I stand on business 24/7. It don't matter how they come at me, they can't get me to not wake up with my own opinion. Once you take that money, they got you. They own you. And if we ought to believe what Candace Owens is saying, Charlie didn't take the money. Well, at least he didn't take the big bag. The big old bag. He didn't take it. It looks like, if we are to believe what Candace Owens is saying, because Charlie Kirk had a change of heart on his position on Israel. He was eliminated. Oftentimes when I'm doing this show, well, I won't say oftentimes, but sometimes when I do the show, I have a different opinion than the majority of the people who's following me think I should have. And y'all get mad at me sometimes for having that opinion. But I reserve the right to change my mind, or I reserve the right to have an opinion totally different from everybody on the planet. If every single person on this planet said they was thinking this way, they believe this, I have a right as a human being, a God-given right to have a different opinion. So while I do value my subscribers, my listeners, my audience, the people, I value the people. I value my mind, my freedom of choice even more. Because if you don't have freedom of choice, if you don't have the ability to speak your mind, to be who you are, to be your authentic self, what the hell are you living for? You living for other people. You got one life to live. You got to live it for yourself. So yeah, sometimes I say certain things I know y'all gonna get mad about it, but I say it anyway. I don't say it to piss you off. I say it out of love, but I say it because that's the way I feel. Sometimes I have guests on my podcast that you guys disagree with. Y'all say, why are you giving them a platform? I already know I'm gonna take the hit. I already know y'all gonna be mad about it, but my goal is not to antagonize you. My goal is to give you information and instructions to help you navigate through this wild, crazy, beautiful world. We're not always going to agree on everything. And I see this, and so I see people who are Republicans or Democrats or independents or moderates, whatever. I oftentimes see them in the same light. Sometimes we don't have to agree on everything. Some things we're going to disagree on. Some things we're going to agree on. Some things, some ways that some people have are deal breakers to me. But I think in most cases, it's good to try to at least get an understanding and see where a person is coming from. And so for me, I can sit down and have a conversation with somebody I'm diametrically opposed to. You know, I can have these conversations with people. I invited a guy who was part of the January 6th mob. You don't like when I call him the mob, but, you know, I invited the guy on the show, on my show. Why are you platforming that guy? Why are you? Because I want to understand where he's coming. I don't think I have all the answers. I can only understand as far as I know from the outside, but to get an understanding, let me at least hear what they were thinking. What were you thinking overthrowing, were you thinking, did you go in there saying, we're about to overthrow the government? Did you think that, oh, they're not going to shoot at us? Did you think we probably have to kill a few cops? I want to know. I don't know. Because I wasn't there. I'm not in their skin. I'm not a white guy. You know, I'm not a conservative white guy. So I don't know exactly how they think. I can look at their behavior and make assumptions, but what better way to get information than to get it from the horse's mouth? That's why I played those videos of Charlie Kirk earlier, because it's one thing for people to tell you about a person. It's another thing for that person to tell you about themselves. Charlie Kirk talked about how people told him not to invite Tucker Carlson on his show. Well, let me back up. Not his show, but his convention. They saw Tucker Carlson because Tucker Carlson had some different views since he left Fox. They didn't want Tucker Carlson around because he got off script. Kind of like how Don Lemon has been lately. Remember when Don Lemon was on CNN and there was a protest going on in St. Louis, I believe, a suburb of St. Louis. That was the Michael Brown protest, I believe, after Michael Brown was murdered in the streets like a dog. And Don Lemon was out there and he's reporting and he's like, I smell weed. Is that weed? I smell weed. You dig what I'm saying, fam? That's something he could have kept to himself. But what he did is that he helped reinforce the stereotype. You dig? So, but since Don has been fired from CNN, man, he been letting it rip. And that's the benefit of free speech and free enterprise, having your own thing where nobody owns you. Getting with these big companies, these conglomerates, these media tycoons, these media titans, you pretty much have to regurgitate their thoughts, their beliefs, and you have to be part of the propaganda machine, or else you're not going to be there long. I think Charlie Kirk was still who he was. I still believe he was a raging racist. He didn't change those views. But there were certain views about Israel that he changed. And I do believe that may have resulted in him no longer being here. But what say you, fam? Drop a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. No more talk.
Backwards, we both want to win, but we both inaccurate. Two sides, but no one wants to be.